Out of the red corner, wearing the red trunks, weighing in at 175 pounds. He's from the Motor City, Detroit, Michigan. This 1988 United States Olympic team member is now 27-4-1 as a professional with 19 KOs. Introducing Anthony Dwayne Hembrick. And his opponent across the ring, fighting out of the blue corner, wearing the black with silver trim, weighing 176 pounds. He's from Ann Arbor, Michigan. His professional record, 40 victories without a defeat, 2 draws, 26 KOs. He's captured 2 world titles in his professional career. Ladies and gentlemen, presenting the undefeated super middleweight champion of the world, James Lights Out Toney.
One guy. You're in charge of your corner. You're in charge of yours. You got any questions?
No questions.
All right, they come to see you fight, not me referee, right? We understand that. Shake hands. Come on. All right.
Succinct by referee Joe O'Neill and Anthony Hembrick. Ready to get it on with James Toney. And as we said, Toney is not a guy who is apt to take a night off.
No, and he'll have to be on tonight because Anthony Hembrick is not some pushover. We mentioned he just went 12 rounds with Henny Maska, who is a light heavyweight champion. Whoa, Hembrick after him right away. Interesting.
Toney, not the easiest guy in the world to hit. He gives you a lot of different angles. He can make fighters look bad.
And immediately he made Hembrick pay for coming at him. He landed a good short left hook.
The fight that James Toney fought against Iran Barkley was as close, I believe, to perfection as you can be in a boxing match.
Against an Iran Barkley who is in superb condition, and I mean tried about as hard as you can try. Toney just handled it.
Counter left hand from Hembrick.
There's a nice right by Hembrick, so now James Toney's tasted his first light heavyweight right hand. Didn't do too much, did it? Hembrick is leaning into Toney, leaning down. He's making it easier for Toney, and Toney's going to whack him with that counter left hook again.
A lot of attractive fights out there for James Toney.
He's really in the catbird seat. They're waiting on Roy Jones at 168. If he doesn't come through, they've got Prince Charles Williams already signed up in July. That, I think, a very difficult match.
But a mandatory before any of that happens.
Yeah, he's got a mandatory defensive against Tim Littles, right? Yeah, that's on March 5th. Big right by Toney. And of course, this bout, stepping up, is really almost a no-lose situation. Even if she should be upset tonight, of course he hopes not to be, it wouldn't affect him in any of those other matches. And the Tim Littles match, you shouldn't look beyond it. Tim Littles is a very talented fighter.
Let's see the hand speed of James Toney even early in this fight.
When you're wrestling, no wrestling.
He's landing some real nice short counter punches. Hembrick is pressing the attack, but it's Toney who's showing you the real sharp in his punches.
Toney's just one of those guys that prefers to get his training in the actual heat of combat. And that's not to say he doesn't spend any time in the gym. He's a very hard worker, and we alluded earlier to the fact that Mike Johnson said when you work in the gym with Mike Toney, even in the same gym, you better come ready to work. There's no nonsense.
Nice right hand by Toney. Toney has been, by and large, much better at 168 than he was ultimately at 160 because he had a hard time making the weight. How good will he be at 175? Will his hand speed still be there? That's the question.
So far tonight, it looks like it is against Anthony Hembrick, the former Olympian. We come to the end of the first round with a good left hand by Toney to end it.
Most of it. Reach, and so, of course, is James Toney landing the jab from the outside, naturally.
Toney so far does not cooking Hembrick.
And, you know, he's taken a couple of pretty good shots from Hembrick. And now you can see he's thinking, well, I wasn't hurt, and I've whacked him a couple times. What's the big deal about this light heavyweight thing, you know?
Let's take a look at the numbers from the first round. And Toney more effective with his punches, although Hembrick threw more punches. There's a counter right hand.
Yeah, he is countering Hembrick very well.
Anthony Hembrick has had a star-crossed career, both as an amateur and as a professional. It seems like every time he gets on the doorstep, somebody slams the door on him. Maybe he slams it on himself.
He said he's worked hard for this bout and feels that, you know, he's prepared for it.
He said at the beginning of the program it was hard to get a feel for what he was thinking coming into this fight and chatting with him today.
Good body work. Toney's an excellent body puncher. One of his strengths.
Toney's just so much quicker.
Toney, I mean, he'll lower his hands because he can turn his shoulder and not get hit. I mean, his technique is not classic boxing technique, but it works very well for him.
One thing Hembrick did say this morning when he chatted with him, he said, I'm 90% more ready for this fight than I was for Henry Masca. Great body shot again.
Boy, Toney is ripping left hooks to the body. And I think that one really was felt by Hembrick. Hembrick is making his job easier by staying on the inside. Hembrick should be on the outside where he can use his reach and height to the advantage. And everyone thought Hembrick would move a little bit in this fight. He's not doing it.
Definitely not doing that. In fact, the concern in Toney's camp was that he would run.
He is digging those left hooks, Toney, doubling it to the left hook to the body and the head.
And it really makes you hope that Hembrick was right when he said he's 90% more ready, because if he's not, those body shots are going to take a toll sooner rather than later. Good left hook. Blood to the nose of Hembrick. Very effective round so far by James Toney. So we head for the end of round number 2, and another terrific performance for James Toney. We'll be back.
And you are going to be in Las Vegas tomorrow for the UNLV New Mexico State game.
Yep.
It should be a good one.
In the second round, Toney, once again, just far more effective than Anthony Hembrick. Hembrick fought Toney's fight in the second round also.
Yeah, stayed on the inside, worked with him, and Toney landed 53% of his power shots, while Hembrick landed only 23% of his jabs.
Body work by Toney was sensational in the second round.
See, there from the outside, Hembrick has a shot at landing that straight right after the jab, but when he lays on the inside with Toney, it's not going to happen.
Toney slipped that time.
Already a little blood from the nose of Anthony Hembrick.
Was there a little bit in the last round as well.
Look at the defense of Toney. It's excellent. Seems Toney looks he's walking around like the whole proceedings are boring him at the moment.
I know. He does that all the time.
And sometimes, you know, he gets criticized for taking rounds off and not being as active. Now, in some of the fights we've had him here on ESPN this last year, he didn't do that. He was real active when he fought Ricky Thomas and Glenn Thomas and Daniel Garcia up here. He was more active.
Long left hook by Toney. Break snap by James Toney. Didn't get hit.
What a difference in this young man than when we first saw him years ago, fighting Murky Sosa and a couple other people. It's just before he fought Michael Nunn. I wouldn't have given him a snowball's chance to beat Michael Nunn.
Although it's really interesting to me, that was a fight that we thought neither man deserved to win, the Murky Sosa fight.
Yeah.
And we were pretty hard, actually, on both fighters. And yet, in talking to James Toney, he said Murky Sosa hit him harder than anybody has.
And then he was losing virtually every round to Michael Nunn, then whacked him out, and then it all changed for him. And he's still only 25 years old. I mean, he is literally in his prime or approaching it. Hembrick is having a hard time on the outside as well, getting hit with those jabs and other punches by James Toney.
The other thing you got to like about Toney is he is the definitive warrior. We were talking to him today about who in the light heavyweight division he would like to have. And there are some guys who you would look at James Toney and say he should beat this champion or that champion. Drop to one knee. Are they going to call that a knockout?
Yeah, I believe there's a jab that sent him down. I think that might be appropriate. We'll see, I guess, when we see a replay.
Comes at the end of the round. So that just makes it a little bit more lopsided. What I started to say is, you know, he could get the Jeff Hardings and those, but no, he says he'd like Virgil Hill because he feels Virgil Hill is the cream of the light heavyweight crop, and that's what he wants.
Baby, you got to stay here. You shorten the hook of the right hand.
Went down.